I opened the mailbox to find a postcard inviting me to my high school reunion. Although I still occasionally met with a few close friends from those days, I hadn't attended a reunion in 10 years. There was a specific reason for that, someone I didn't want to see. I went to a private all-boys school for wealthy students, but with declining birth rates in the region, the school merged with a sister all-girls school during my junior year, turning co-ed. The sudden transition from an all-male environment wasn't easy. It wasn't just me, every guy felt on edge. Having girls in the classroom completely changed the atmosphere. Gone were the sweaty, masculine odors we had grown used to. Instead, the air was filled with a subtle, flowery scent that was distinct and captivating, something I hadn't really noticed back in middle school. The girl who sat next to me was named Sarah. She had a friendly demeanor and would often initiate conversations with me. Over time, I found myself developing feelings for her, and before I knew it, we were dating. After we graduated, we both went to the same college, but since we were in different departments, our schedules didn't align. I was focused on my major, spending time with my study group, while Sarah joined a casual tennis club to socialize and have fun. Our time together was limited, and we managed to meet up for lunch at the campus cafeteria whenever possible. We also went on dates a couple of times a month, trying to maintain the relationship despite our busy lives. As time passed, I noticed a change in Sarah. She became increasingly flashy, preferring to visit trendy places and expensive restaurants on our dates. For special occasions like birthdays and anniversaries, she began to ask for branded items and jewelry. I was overwhelmed with studies and had to juggle multiple part-time jobs just to afford the things she wanted. Some of my friends noticed this and warned me, saying things like, "William, do you think she's just using you? It feels like she only sees you as a cash cow." Although I had started to feel the same way, a part of me refused to believe it. I convinced myself that she had other good qualities and continued dating her, hoping things would improve. On our third anniversary, Sarah insisted that we celebrate at an upscale restaurant. I reluctantly agreed and made reservations, even though it strained my budget. During dinner, she brought up something unexpected. "Hey, William, we've been together for 3 years now. I think it's time you introduced me to your parents." We were still in college and far from thinking about marriage, but I figured it might be a good idea to introduce her to my family, so I promised to take her to my home the following weekend. When the day arrived, Sarah seemed excited, but that excitement quickly faded. As soon as she saw my family's modest home, she stopped in her tracks and whispered under her breath, "What the?" I encouraged her to come inside, but she hesitated. Eventually, she stepped through the door, her expression shifting from excitement to thinly veiled disgust. My parents, always warm and welcoming, greeted her kindly and tried to engage her in conversation. But Sarah remained distant, visibly displeased throughout the visit. My mother, unaware of Sarah's attitude, smiled and said, "You're always welcome back." Just a few steps outside, however, Sarah whirled around and snapped, "What's with that dump? And your dad, he's just some nobody working for a company I've never even heard of. I thought that school you went to was full of rich kids. What's the deal?" I stood there, stunned by her words. Feeling deeply disappointed that she was revealing her true nature, I calmly explained, "I got a scholarship to attend that school, so I didn't pay the tuition. I've also received a few scholarships here in college. My family isn't rich, and I've never claimed otherwise." Sarah's expression twisted into anger. "What? You tricked me. If I'd known you were this broke, I wouldn't have wasted my time with you." She stormed off, leaving me standing there in disbelief. I never saw her again, either on campus or in private. However, I couldn't avoid hearing rumors about her. Apparently, she had developed a habit of dating wealthy men, moving from one to the next. Now, as I stepped into the reunion venue, I scanned the crowd nervously. A group of 4 men, deep in conversation, noticed me and waved. "Long time no see," they called out cheerfully. I smiled and waved back as they surrounded me. "William, finally decided to show up, huh? We're going to party hard tonight, you better join in." These guys were my close friends from high school, and I had remained in touch with them over the years. At the start of high school, I had kept the fact that I came from a modest background hidden. I worried that if the other students found out I was attending on a scholarship, they might bully or alienate me. But when my friends eventually learned the truth, their attitudes didn't change. In fact, they were supportive. They said things like, "William, getting a scholarship is impressive, you must be really smart, and while I'm just mooching off my parents, you're earning your way. That's something to admire." Their kindness and encouragement were a blessing. They were also the ones who advised me to break up with Sarah when they noticed how demanding she had become. Looking back, I regretted not taking their advice sooner. After she dumped me, I realized how right they had been. We grabbed drinks and spent the evening catching up, sharing stories about our lives and reminiscing about our high school and college days. It felt like we had been transported back to those times when we saw each other almost daily. But as the years passed and we all got jobs, it became harder to meet regularly. Is this the first time we've all been together since Kyle's wedding? I asked, trying to recall the last time we had hung out. Ethan, my best friend since high school, gave me a mock grumpy look. Just so you know, you're the one who's been missing. You should show up more often. He threw an arm around my shoulders and gave me a playful slap on the back. Sorry, I chuckled. I've just been spending a lot of time at home lately. Just then, a familiar voice cut through the chatter behind us. No way, a jobless loser at a reunion, huh? And dressed like that, do you even own anything decent? I turned toward the voice and found myself face to face with Sarah. She was decked out in expensive branded clothing, her makeup bold and flashy. Her condescending smile only added to the bitterness in her tone. Still broke, huh? She sneered. After all these years, you're still struggling. Can't believe you even showed up. Her words stung, but I remained silent, staring at her in disbelief. The reunion was in full swing, and the air between us was thick with tension. I couldn't help but feel the weight of the last 3 years, wasted time with Sarah, a dark chapter of my life that I regretted. Her mocking laughter grated on my nerves, and Ethan, standing beside me, clenched his fists in frustration. Hey, cut the crap, William. Ethan snapped, his face contorting with anger. He was ready to charge at Sarah, fists tight, but I grabbed his arm just in time to hold him back. Let it go, I intervened, giving Ethan a look that said it wasn't worth it. Ethan cast one last resentful glare at Sarah before turning away. For a moment, she looked startled, perhaps expecting a more aggressive reaction from him. But as quickly as that flash of fear appeared, she reverted to her smug, insolent attitude. Why don't you losers just stick together? She sneered, crossing her arms. I'll be off grabbing happiness, unlike you guys. Her smirk was cutting, and with that, she turned and trotted over to a man holding a shopping bag with a luxury brand logo. I noticed her behavior hadn't changed at all, still flitting from one man to another in search of wealth, even at this age. The reunion passed by in a blur, and soon it was almost time to wrap things up. The inevitable question came up, who would handle the bill? Why not leave it to the organizer? Someone suggested with a casual laugh. Ethan, standing nearby, made a face, clearly dreading the responsibility. I like organizing events, he admitted reluctantly, but I'm not great at collecting money. I chuckled at his discomfort and decided to step in. I'll take care of it, I said. I didn't do much to help with the reunion, anyway. On my way to the venue staff, asking for the bill, Sarah sidled up to me again. Her expression was as condescending as ever. There's no way someone unemployed like you can afford to pay the reunion fees, right? She taunted. And you can't exactly borrow money since your family's broke too, can you? Trying to play the cashier to cover your own costs? How pathetic. I ignored her completely, which only annoyed her further. She shot me a sour look. Hey, don't ignore me, she snapped, frustration rising in her voice. Just then, a staff member arrived with the receipt. As I reached for it, the rest of the classmates crowded around, curious about the final amount. Oh, the bill's here, someone exclaimed eagerly. How much is it? I glanced at the total, and to my surprise, it was quite reasonable. Well, I'll cover it, I announced casually, pulling out a card from my wallet. Without much thought, I placed it on the tray for the staff to process. The moment the others saw the card, a wave of murmurs spread across the room. Wait, is that a black card? One person whispered. Not just any black card, another chimed in, eyes wide. It's a centurion. Seriously? I've never seen one in person before. The excitement was palpable. The Centurion card, also known as the Amex Black Card, was legendary, held only by the ultra-wealthy. Among our classmates, many of whom had gone to prestigious schools and knew a thing or two about luxury, the card's status did not go unnoticed. William, one of them gasped, just how rich are you? What do you even do these days? Before I could respond, Ethan stepped forward with a grin. He started an IT company while still in college, he boasted. He's been pulling in big money working from home. William's on a whole different level from the rest of us? I felt a mix of pride and amusement at Ethan's words. He wasn't just my old friend, he was the heir to the Johnson real estate empire, a business with branches both domestically and abroad. Ethan caught my eye and shot me a wry look. I'm just a vice president for now, he admitted. Still got a ways to go before I reach CEO level like you. It was strange, realizing how our old friendships had transformed into business relationships. Ethan and the other 3 guys, once just my high school buddies, were now some of my top clients. I never imagined that we would grow up to work so closely together. As we reminisced, Sarah stood frozen, staring at me with a look of disbelief. The arrogant sneer was gone, replaced by something desperate. As the others drifted away, she rushed after me, her demeanor completely changed. "Wait, William. Please, I need to talk to you," she pleaded, her voice soft and almost trembling. The shift in her attitude was almost comical. Now she looked like the innocent, sweet girl she used to pretend to be. "After we broke up, you never reached out to me," she said, her eyes shimmering with tears. "I was so lonely. I ended up saying things I didn't mean. I'm sorry." She grabbed my arms and gave them a little shake, as if trying to make me understand. "I've never been able to forget you. I've always loved you," she whispered, looking up at me with wide, teary eyes. "Please, William. Can we try again? I promise I'll cherish you this time." Behind me, I could hear my friends stifling their laughter, struggling to keep straight faces. I bit the inside of my cheek, suppressing a grin of my own. It was astonishing how quickly some people could flip their attitudes when they discovered that someone they once looked down on was actually successful. Of course, not all women were like this, but Sarah certainly was. "Thank you," I said with a calm smile. Her face brightened instantly, her expression filled with hope, as if she thought she had won me over. Before she could say anything else, I continued. "It's because of women like you that I became so cautious in college. Even after I found success, I've always been wary of people drawn to me for my money or status. I've never been taken in, and that's all thanks to your rotten character. So, really, thank you." As soon as I finished speaking, my friends behind me burst into laughter, unable to contain themselves any longer. Sarah's face turned a deep, furious red. "How dare you humiliate me like this?" she shrieked. I shrugged, unfazed by her outburst. "Who's the shameless one here?" I asked flatly. Ethan, still laughing, popped his head out from behind me and added, "By the way, that too casual outfit you were mocking earlier? It's from a top Italian brand and costs thousands of dollars. Maybe brush up on your fashion knowledge next time." That was the final blow. Sarah's expression twisted with rage and embarrassment. "I never want to see you again," she spat before storming off. As she disappeared from sight, I couldn't help but wonder whether she would continue chasing men for their money or if she'd eventually seek genuine love. Either way, I doubted we'd hear from her again anytime soon. "Well, let's head to the after-party," Ethan suggested with a grin. "I recently invested in a bar around here. Want to check it out?" "Sounds great," I replied, feeling lighter than I had all evening. As I followed my friends toward the bar, I thought back to our high school days. Even when they knew I came from a poor background, they had stood by me. And now, as adults, successful and wealthy, they still treated me the same way. It was a rare and precious thing, this kind of unwavering friendship. I knew I had to cherish it and not let myself get too caught up in the hustle of life. With those thoughts in mind, I walked into the night with my friends, ready to create more memories.